For all of our lives, we have been told a simple story about the ground beneath our feet. We are told it is a story of solid, brutal, and predictable geology. We are told that 6 miles down, there is only pressure. 600 miles down, there is only a sea of fire. 4,000 miles down, there is only a solid iron core, a dead heart of metal, crushed by the weight of a planet. This is the official story, the story of a solid, impenetrable, and lifeless Earth. It is a story that science insists is final. But what if that story is a lie? What if the Earth is not a tomb of solid rock, but a womb, a hollow, hidden sanctuary, shielding an entire world that has been lost to our memory? The official narrative is, of course, clear. Seismology, the science of listening to earthquakes, has mapped our planet's interior. The data is unambiguous. The math is proven. The Earth is solid. In the 21st century, the very idea of a hollow Earth is a scientific impossibility, a joke. It is a relic of a primitive, pre-scientific age. It has been relegated by the gatekeepers of our history to one simple and dismissive word: myth. But here is the fracture point. Here is the anomaly that our official story cannot explain. Why is it a myth everywhere? Why is this impossibility not a local fairy tale, but a persistent global human memory? The ancient Greeks did not just imagine an underworld. They mapped Hades and Tartarus, a realm of giants and titans, as a physical place beneath their feet. The Norse described Svartalfheim, the subterranean land of the Dark Elves, existing deep within the earth. And in the high, remote peaks of Tibet, for thousands of years, the Buddhist monks have guarded the most detailed lore of all: the legend of Agartha, a vast subterranean kingdom with millions of inhabitants and its own inner sun. A place that, as we explored in a previous investigation, is deeply and inextricably linked to the mystery of Shambhala. The lore of Agartha is not a vague story. It is a blueprint. It describes a vast network of tunnels, 100 miles deep, connecting every continent on the planet. It describes a world free from the chaotic weather of the surface, a world whose capital city, Shambhala, is lit by a central sun. This sun is not a star. The lore describes it as a different kind of energy, a cold, non-burning light, a zero-point reactor perhaps, a lost technology that provides light, warmth, and life. And who or what lives in this world? The lore is consistent. The inhabitants are the survivors, the giants we explored in a previous investigation, the Nephilim, the Titans, the survivors of the last great filter that wiped the surface clean, a civilization that fled a global cataclysm, a civilization, perhaps, that we once called Atlantis. This is the legend, a perfect, self-contained fantasy. It would have remained a myth forever had it not been for one crucial detail. The blueprint describes specific physical points of entry, the primary openings, 2 vast polar openings hidden in the unexplored, uncharted voids at the North and South Poles. A ridiculous, impossible claim, until the most decorated and the most trusted explorer of the 20th century flew into one. Admiral Richard E. Byrd. He was not a mystic. He was not a fool. He was a United States naval officer, a Medal of Honor recipient, the undisputed master of the poles, the first man to fly over both of them. He was a global hero, a man whose word was trusted as fact. Which is why his most famous and most controversial expedition has been almost completely erased from our official history. It was 1947. The operation was codenamed High Jump. On the surface, it was a massive naval exercise. A fleet of 13 ships, an aircraft carrier, and thousands of men sent to map Antarctica. But the true lore, the story that has been whispered for over 70 years, is found in what is claimed to be his secret diary. We must state, the official story denies the existence of this diary. The official story claims it is a forgery. But here at 0 Point Lore, we are investigators of the lore. And this is what the lore claims. February 1947. Byrd is on a reconnaissance flight over the North Pole. His instruments fail. His compasses, both magnetic and gyro, spin uselessly. He can no longer navigate. And then, the whiteout clears. He wrote, "I am seeing things that are not normal. Mountains, forests, a river, and an animal. It is a mammoth. This is impossible." He claims he was not flying over the pole. He was flying into it. The lore then becomes a science fiction masterpiece. His radio crackles. A voice, speaking English with a Nordic or German accent, welcomes him. His plane is taken over by an unknown force and landed. He describes a meeting with the Master, the leader of this advanced civilization. The Master explains that they are the survivors of an ancient race. They fled underground thousands of years ago as the surface world destroyed itself. They have been watching us, and now they have a warning. This was 1947, only 2 years after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Master, according to the lore, tells Byrd that humanity has unleashed a power that is not for this world, the power of the atom. This civilization, this Agartha, had never interfered, but now they were concerned. We had created a weapon that could not only destroy ourselves, but could damage the planet itself. The lore states that Byrd was sent back as a messenger to the Pentagon to warn the surface world to disarm. We know what happened next. Byrd returned. He was debriefed. He was, according to the lore, silenced. The secret diary was buried. A complete fantasy? A madman's dream? Perhaps. But this lore, this fantasy, had one other very dark and very real believer. The Third Reich was not just a political movement. It was a 0 Point cult. At its dark heart was the Thule Society, an occult secret society obsessed with one single idea: finding the lost origin of the Aryan race. They were obsessed with the lore. They believed the myth of Thule, a lost northern Atlantean homeland, was real. They believed its survivors, the giants, the masters, had fled to Agartha. In 1938, the Nazis launched their own massive expedition to Antarctica. They claimed a vast territory called Neuschwabenland. The lore here is persistent. They were not just mapping ice. They were searching for an entrance. The most extreme lore, the most persistent 0 Point theory, is that they found it. That base 211 was not a simple ice station. It was a gateway, a back door to the hollow earth, where they intended to contact the masters and acquire their lost supertech. Did they fail? Or was Operation High Jump, led by Admiral Byrd just 2 years after the war ended, not an exploration mission at all? Was it an invasion? A cleanup operation to hunt down the last hidden Nazi remnant who had fled to the one place on Earth no one would ever look. The lore is a tapestry of impossible questions, but it all rests on one single, physical impossibility. The lore is fascinating. It is a perfect, interconnected narrative, but it has one single, fatal flaw. It cannot be real. A solid Earth is a fact. Or is it? What if we have been asking the wrong question for 2,000 years? What if the hollow Earth is not a place, but a memory of a different kind of reality? Let us, for a moment, be practical. Let us assume the lore is a myth as memory. In a previous investigation, we explored the 18-story subterranean city of Derinkuyu, a fortress designed to hold 20,000 people with doors that only locked from the inside. What were they hiding from? What if Agartha is not one single central kingdom, but a fragmented global memory of a time when humanity was a subterranean species? A memory of the survivors of a global cataclysm like the Younger Dryas event, who fled underground to escape a surface that had become uninhabitable. In this theory, the hollow Earth is not a place, it is a time. A dark, terrifying post-apocalyptic age when the inner world was the only world left. This theory is compelling, but it does not explain Byrd. It does not explain the impossibility of a green, temperate land at the pole. To explain that, we must leave geology and enter physics. In our investigation of Shambhala, we asked a heretical question. What if it was not a lost land, but a lost physics? What if Agartha is not a physical space, but a dimensional one? A parallel reality existing in the same space as our own, but at a different frequency or vibration. And what if, at the poles, the Earth's electromagnetic field, the veil between these worlds, is at its thinnest? This theory is bizarre, it is unorthodox, and it is the only one that explains all the lore. Byrd did not fly into the Earth. He flew through the veil. He was not a navigator, he was an interdimensional traveler. The masters he met were not Atlanteans in the physical sense. They were beings who had mastered this lost physics. The hollow Earth is not a cavern. It is a different channel, a different frequency. And the Nazis, they were not digging for a hole. They were searching for a key, a tuner, a lost super tech that would allow them to open the door. This brings us to the 0 point, the grand unification of the lore. What if both theories are true? What if there was a global, giant Atlantean civilization? A civilization that, as we explored in our investigation of lost supertechs, had mastered a different kind of physics. A civilization that understood sound, vibration, and consciousness as tools. And what if When they saw the great flood, the cataclysm coming, they had a choice: die on the surface or ascend. What if Agartha is the result? What if they did not just dig? What if they used their lost physics to phase their entire civilization, their cities, their knowledge, their central sun, out of our physical reality into the dimensional sanctuary that we now call the Hollow Earth? Agartha is not a place, it is a lifeboat. And the Hollow Earth is the most profound lost land of all. A civilization that did not die, but simply left. The official story of a solid Earth is safe. It is comfortable. It is perhaps even true. But the lore, the myth as memory, the story that every ancient culture on Earth tried to tell us, is that we are not the first. That we are the survivors of a great cataclysm. And that the first ones, the giants, the titans, the masters, did not all perish. They went inside. The true mystery of the Hollow Earth is not a question of geology. It is a question of our own profound planetary amnesia. Agartha is the ultimate lost land. It is the 0 point of our origin story, a hiding place not just for a lost civilization, but for the lost knowledge that the Earth itself is a sanctuary, that our reality is not the only one, and that our past is far greater, far stranger, and far more profound than we have ever dared to imagine.